Welcome, mentors, to the Google for Education Certified Innovator Program Mentor Meetup for September. We are so thrilled to be joined today by a Guru Plus, a special Googler who is going to talk to us all about the mentoring program at Google, how it relates to your mentoring that you're doing with Google Certified Innovators, and strategies that you can take away today to work with your innovator. We're so thrilled you all joined us. This will be archived on the YouTube live page you are watching right now. So do bookmark it. It will be restricted to your emails that you have signed up with the mentoring program, however. So please come back to this, and we're excited to have you in the back channel today. Hello, we've got folks coming from all over this morning and this afternoon for many of us. And with that, we are going to go ahead and first ask all of you to please share in the back channel before we get to our special guest Googler today. Please share your name, where you're from, who you're mentoring right now, or if you who you mentored in the past, if your cohort has finished for this year, such as Mountain View or Colorado. And really let Becky and I know what you'd like to learn today. What's a big question you have about mentoring, about your relationship with your certified innovator? So I'll take a moment to let this question breathe in the back channel. Also feel free to share anything else that you're up to. And we're looking here. We've got Jenny from California. Hi, guys. Hi, Katie. Hello, Eric from Ohio. Jessica from Connecticut. Jorge from Brazil. Charlie from Maryland. Amanda from Chicago. Hey, Katie. Katie's mentoring Alicia from London cohort. So great. And Becky, as they're all introducing themselves, you'll note that all of the mentors joining us today are at various timelines of getting paired up with their innovators. So some of them just got paired last week, our Sydney cohort. Some have finished it up, and others are right in the thick of it, like Katie is. Ollie from the UK, thanks for coming, Ollie. We've also got Tammy, El Segundo, Ontario. Graham is also here from the UK. Wonderful. Great, everyone. So after you introduce yourself, do put in maybe one thing you'd love to get from today about mentoring, about your relationship with these innovators, and of course, helping them get their project vision to light by the end of their year in the program. And of course, being a lifelong mentor and friend and professional mentor for them as well. And please put any questions that you have throughout Becky's talk today, and we will at the end have a chance to address those. So please feel free to keep the back channel going with any thoughts or questions, connections you have, or even strategies that you've used so far in your mentoring process. Thanks, Charlie. Just to set the stage, Becky, it looks like Charlie looking about the difference between mentoring and coaching, advice giving versus actually helping them figure it out. Really great, Charlie. So keep those going, everybody, and keep the back channel going. I am going to introduce to everybody now Becky Cotton. So Becky is joining us so graciously this morning here on the West Coast as the Global Internal Coaching Program Manager out of California at Google. And let me tell you a bit about what Becky does. She leads the internal coaching program at Google, known as Guru Plus, harnessing coaching talent of 600 plus trained leaders in 65 international offices. So Becky knows a little bit about how our global nature, especially with these pairings. I know we have folks from Australia to Colorado and everywhere in between. And the Guru Plus program offers one-to-one coaching support to any employee across the company, which is really remarkable. And in an age where technology is front and center, Becky believes that automation cannot replace the human connection and relationship. And her program bridges these worlds. So several best-selling books, including Work Rules, The Pivot Method, Pause, highlights Becky's innovative approaches, leveraging technology to support, scale, and drive impact in these relationships, which is a lot of what all of you are doing, using things like Hangouts and chat to connect across the globe with these folks. So really excited to hear what Becky shares. Is also recognized as a finalist for the International Coach Federation's PRISM Award and profiled as a case study in the Conference Board Executive Coaching Report. And she also regular consults for Fortune 500 companies and startups, how to build their own internal coaching programs. And now here she is here with us. So this is so exciting, Becky. We can't wait to hear a little bit about Guru Plus, and of course, connecting it to all of our innovator mentors who are here with us today. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you so much. I am just thrilled to be here. You know, as I was preparing for this time with you today, you really took me, little did you know, back through memory lane. And Charlie, I was born and raised in Maryland, Charlie from Maryland. So really excited that you asked that question. And one of the things that had me thinking about the work that you do and the value that you add as educators and teachers is my own mom, who was a teacher. And the memories that I had of her, following her into the 3-room schoolhouse in Dorsey, Maryland, where she taught a combination of grades 3, 4, and 5. And me toting along something, if you guys remember, called the McGuffey readers, or if you've ever heard of them, these kind of education-based readers that were used in her education system, like in the early 20s. So, and then it made me think back to my time at St. John's Lane Elementary School and this 3rd grade teacher that I had that told me, I can't remember what she taught me, but I remember what she said to me. And it was so powerful. And to this day, I remember it. She said, Becky, it was in my autograph book. Back in the day, we had autograph books. Becky, you are a leader, ... Use your talent wisely. And so here I am, probably 50 years later. What that teacher said to me has made an incredible impact. So I wanted to start off by thanking you. So my goal today is to share with you about the Guru Plus program, how it operates, and maybe in part a little bit of insight or little tips and tricks that you may want to take in your mentoring program with your group. I'm going to do a screen share here to a presentation I have prepared. So that will take me just a minute.
Perfect.
And if everybody can see that. So as you may know, Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And I believe that the Guru Plus internal coaching program is really the heart, soul, and spirit of that mission and the employees at the company. It's a scalable platform to support one-on-one coaching for any Googler. It began in 2008, and this is the footprint. Now, why I love to tell the story of how it began is it actually began when a few of us in 2007 received an employee survey about satisfaction that the employees had around career development. We were at a phase where technology was everything. We were looking for scale and speed. And somewhere in the midst of all that, what my view is we lost the human connection. We were so busy with our technology, and I think we can see this, with our smartphones and that today, as we lost the ability to connect. So a few of us started holding office hours to help people have conversations about their career because the employee surveys said they were dissatisfied with career options. And that became this program. In 2010, a good friend and an author now called Jenny Blake, she wrote the book, The Pivot Method, said to me, Becky, you can't coach the whole company. And I said, yeah, I thought I could, frankly, at the time. Now we're 70,000 or more. And she created the program. So she took what we were doing in those Career Center office hours and launched the program. Fast forward later, we now have 600 gurus in 65 global offices, and we coach on 9 topics. So imagine for a minute that you're a new employee to Google. You are on your first day, you're a little bit unsure about this culture, you hear there's dogs and foods and massage food and massages and all kinds of, you're told there's smart people here, and you're wondering, how do I navigate this place? How do I make sure I fit in? Well, the first program we have to help Googlers enter is called the Noogler Guru. Our new Googlers are known as Nooglers. So let's fast forward a year later, you're thinking about your career, you're thinking about learning and growing, and you have an option to sign up, going onto our learning platform, looking at some bios similar to the way you have your bios in your program, and sign up for a career guru. Fast forward a few years, you're struggling with transitioning in or out of being a new parent, or you're struggling with transitioning in or out of being a people manager, or you're struggling with helping develop your team and doing team events, or you're struggling with your well-being or innovation and ideas of innovation. So the Guru program is a way that we can support people across the life cycle of their career through one-on-one coaching. The beauty of the program for me is that it's 100% volunteer. So just like you, these are people who care deeply about supporting and developing others, and they really want to find a scalable way to give back. So it's a scalable platform, and the program sits on a team we call G2G, which stands for Googler to Googler. I want to call that out because the G2G program in and of itself, the Guru program is a small part of that. We actually, and I find this incredibly fascinating, we have 7,000 Google employees who participate in teaching other Googlers our core curriculum and any curriculum they wish to design and offer for learning. So 75% of all of our learning programs that we offer in our learning and development organization are actually offered by these, we call them G2Gers. And the Guru program is a type of G2G, Googler developing Googlers. So back to the Guru program, it leverages top coaching skills from inside Google, and you can see with these numbers here that it went from our first year we launched and we had 200 coaching sessions, and in 2016 we had well over 3,000. What's interesting about the impact of the program and the way we measure it is when we ask the question, overall I was satisfied with my experience from my Guru, we have 4.87 out of 5 is our satisfaction rating over time. So over and over again, our employees are telling us that they appreciate what Gurus do. They love to be seen and heard. Some of the things that have allowed us to launch the Guru program at Google is that in our culture, the main focus is on the user. And we were fortunate enough that our CEO appreciates the value of coaching and mentoring. And he even has a video on YouTube you can look up where he says, my advice to you is to have a coach, or his best advice is to have a coach. Another component of what makes this program successful is the Googler themselves. Googlers, by and large, have an incredible growth mindset, an appetite for learning and coaching, and a desire to bring their whole selves to work. One of the, back to you all as educators and teachers, one of the things that I find absolutely fascinating is the number of Google employees whose parents are teachers. When I joined in 2005 and the company was a little bit smaller, I used to sit occasionally in a conference room, and if we had a little bit time before the meeting, I'd say how many people's parents were teachers. Every single time, more than 50% of the people in the room's parents were teachers. And that tells me something about the type of folks we hire. So another thing that enables Guru Plus is the Gurus themselves. Similar to you, they have a passion for giving back and developing others. We onboard them with training. We ensure that their managers and their HR business partners support them participating in the program. And then we use our learning management system as the technology by which to scale the matching and the selection. And of course, we follow everything along with data. On this previous slide, each Guru, so let's say you're an employee and you're interested in visiting a career guru. What you'll do is you'll go to our learning management system, you'll type in career guru, and you can search by office, region, location, and speak to any guru via Google Hangout or live anywhere around the globe in the 65 offices that we have gurus. And each guru has a star rating associated with their profile based on the feedback that they've received from previous sessions. So let's move on a little bit to how we prepare our gurus. Our gurus are prepared through a 3.5-hour onboarding training and then ongoing training and development. And one of the things that gets to Charlie's question earlier, Charlie, my homie from Maryland there, is this idea of how does coaching differ from other types of helping? And this is a slide. Let me orient to you. On the left-hand side, we have the concept of asking and exploring. And on the right-hand side, we have the concept of advise and tell. And with coaching, according to how we operate here internally at Google, is we want our coaching program to be more on the ask side of the spectrum versus the tell side of the spectrum. And as I was going through the mentoring book that you guys have been gifted with, I was really impressed with Exhibit 1.1 on page 6, which was the elements of a learner-centered mentoring paradigm. And I kind of wanted to just call that particular chart out because it speaks very much to the similar concept. And one of the things we ask of our gurus, and I would say would be my tip to you, or I thought something for you to think about, is it's not so much that we ask the gurus to insist on staying on the left-hand side of the spectrum. The most important part of this concept is for the gurus and yourself as mentors to understand, where am I in my relationship, in my conversation, in this moment at any given time? And to be able to self-observe and see, am I telling a lot? Am I coaching a lot? Am I listening a little less than I would like to? So when we do the training, some of the exercises we do, or we practice the coaching conversation, and over and over again, in the hundreds and hundreds of people we've trained, they say over and over again that they notice that they are listening to respond versus listening to understand. And they find themselves with the tendency to want to tell and advise versus ask and explore. So if I were to leave you with any gift that comes kind of in-house from a la Google in the Guru program, it is to operate with your mentee in a way where you're subtly always aware where you are sitting on the spectrum and how you are listening. So Stephen Covey said, most people do not listen with the intent to understand, they listen with the intent to reply. And those are two foundational kind of concepts that we share with the gurus. The other thing we share with them is we train them on the GROW model. Now, the GROW model is a pretty prolific model around the globe. And there have been, many claims about who authored the GROW model, as it's a way to achieve goals, to mentor, to coach, and to solve problems. There's no true clarity of the originator, but Alexander Graham, Alan Fine, Sir John Whitworth all made significant contributions to the model. And how we use this model is we have them have the Googler and the guru anchor in the fundamental question of any one-on-one meeting and conversation is, what would make the time most valuable for the person that they're coaching or mentoring? So following this model for a minute, the idea is, what do you want? What would make this, some other questions here would be, what would make this time most valuable? How can I be most helpful? What would you like to focus on today? That anchors any conversation in the actual goal of what's important to the mentee versus the guru themselves driving the conversation. The next part of that is R, which is, just a little bit of tell me what's happening now. Primarily when we train the gurus, we encourage them to ask open-ended questions. So no yes or no answers, but more very open. What's happening now? Tell me what's going on. Questions like, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you in relation to the goal? What does a 10 look like? So very, very open questions to kind of suss out the current state. And then O stands for options, which is what could you do? And this is a time where, our gurus tell us that very often they want to impart their wisdom and say, I have some ideas for you. I think you should do this. And what we really try to do is we have them step back and think of it as sort of an idea and brainstorming session where we say, well, let's explore some options. And very often the coachees will say, what do you think I should do, guru? And so we train them to say, be happy to share some thoughts with you, but I really think you're closer to the situation, would love to get your ideas. How about if we do a little brainstorm, no answers wrong, get some thoughts on the table of some options you might have. And then after the person's exhausted their own brilliance and their own thinking, is if you see something, you can ask permission. So these are great ideas. What an amazing list you have. With your permission, I really can only think of one other thing to add. Would you be willing to hear that thought? And then finally, once the options are out on the table, helping the mentee or the coachee pick what makes the most sense for them to move forward, which is action related. So that's the foundational grow model as a tip. Really interesting model. You may want to have a look at that online if you're not already familiar with it. It's also a great problem-solving model. Frankly, I use it on myself sometimes when I feel a little bit lost and trying to figure out some kind of problem. I will actually use the model. There's also through a Google search all kinds of questions in the area of goal, reality, options, and will. One of the favorite slides of most of the gurus is this one, which is what happens to all of us is, wait, why am I talking? I should be listening to understand, yet I'm talking. So regardless of the years of skill any of us may have, this is still a challenge and something to always be aware of. And finally, I just wanted to pull out this pipeline as something that you may wish to explore further. This is currently owned, I believe, officially by Korn Ferry. The development pipeline was created by our director of coaching here at Google in the early 2000s. And it's a really interesting model for exploring the necessary conditions for systematic learning. And how I like to use it in coaching and mentoring relationships is if you look at this pipeline, it's really intended to mean similar to a water pipe. If a pipe is clogged, then things can't move through. And this particular image shows the concept that the section of motivation is smaller, so that that may be sort of a sticking point for the coachee or the mentee. And I just want to toss this up since we don't have a lot of time to go through it, but the way it helps me as a coach or as a mentor is, I ask myself some of these questions that are on this slide. Does the person know that they need to develop in this area? And then secondly, the one that's been most pivotal for me is, are they motivated? Do they see the personal value to them? And are they willing to invest the time and energy it takes? What I've found as a coach, being a classic helper, is very often I've found myself working harder for the coachee or the mentee than they are working for themselves. So this particular pipeline pulls me back and makes me think about that. Additional resources you might consider, we have related to just how Google works. If you're curious about it, Laszlo Bock wrote this incredible book called Work Rules. And finally, we have a wonderful site called Rework, RE:work, and really interesting studies on how we do things internally here. So that's all I brought to share today. I am open to questions or thoughts, and I thank you very, very much for your time and attention.
Thank you This are wonderful, and it's really great to see the connections going off in the chat of yes, yes. I think somebody already ordered a T-shirt with weight on it, so they're already an industrious bunch for sure. I did filter through the chat here, so folks keep coming in. Any other questions or connections you might have for Becky? But I did filter a couple of questions that came through that I thought might be applicable to ask right now. So let me share my screen really quick. Austin was wondering, as you were breaking down the Guru Plus program, maybe how much time do your volunteers spend working on the Guru Plus program based on their normal contract time? We know that time is just one of the most precious commodities for working educators, but passion is not. And so I think that balance and finding that time and how programs and schools support that. Anything to share with Austin about time management for Guru Plus and how that might apply here?
Yes, absolutely. So the initial ask is a minimum of 2 hours a month per work stream. So for example, if I want to be a career guru, I need to offer 2 hours a month on a pre-populated schedule that'll show up in that learning management system for people to sign up. Many of our gurus can't help themselves. They are so excited about supporting and coaching that I have one guru that's like in 5 or 6 work streams. They're well-being guru, career guru, leadership guru. And onward. So we do ask for manager support and HRBP support and mandatory training and a minimum of 2 hours per month. And then we do monitor the feedback scores. And it is very, very rare that the feedback score falls below 4 out of 5 in terms of satisfaction. So as long as their manager agrees that they can spend a couple hours a month or more, they're welcome to participate.
Oh, that's really great. Thanks for sharing that. It's always nice to see too how data is used. And I think for our mentors, checking in and letting us know how things are going, that data really helps us to either support you or your innovator in letting us know how things are doing. So great to hear what kind of mechanisms help support that in busy times. Thanks for asking that, Austin. All right, I'm going to throw up Emily's question here. How to determine when to dive into it more, it being their project or their question or the relationship, not give up, push through the hard part, and when to pivot onto a new idea. So in this use case, Becky, they are working pretty laser focused on submitting an innovation project by the end of the year. And so their conversations typically start with that project, but we know that they morph into career and often personal or, helping get through just the world of being an educator. But for Emily's point, how do you help with, if someone's stuck, what are some strategies for a mentor like Emily?
Yeah. Thank you for the question, Emily. And I'm going to assume that I understand when I'm answering, so I hope I'm able to answer. So the way I think about this is, have I anchored clearly in the beginning of the engagement, we call it for coaching, in what success looks like for them? And what is the way that we wish to work together? So in coaching, we call this contracting, which is just the general agreements up front about how we'll operate and how we'll communicate even when we get stuck. So the overarching big umbrella for me is that early contracting. And there's times when I've gotten into coaching relationships, and the gurus have too, where we realize we didn't contract appropriately, and we can revisit and say, I just want to step in on, our 10th meeting here and maybe revisit, to make sure we're both supporting the goals that you have for the program. So that's one concept. Another concept is to say, to really anchor in that, for the GROW model, that beginning question of, it's great to meet with you today. What would make this time most valuable? If I have the observation that we're not moving along and we may not have a product or an output or action, one of the techniques I would use is to ask permission to share my observation. It would be something like this. If it was you, Emily, and I was the mentor, I'd say, Emily, I've been really enjoying working on the problem. I know we started with problem A, and I know we've also been exploring problem B and C. When we first started, it looked like we really had some clear goals to execute on A, and I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on the direction we're going now? Do you feel comfortable with keeping the focus on A? I notice sometimes we're going off to B and C. How might we sort of tailor our approach today to focus in on what you would find most valuable? I'm riffing a little bit here, but it's really about politely stating what you see and then engaging the other person in the possibility that they also see it. But then anchoring them in the long-term goal and reminding them of the agreement from the original kind of conversation. I hope that's helpful without being able to see you and completely understand. Those would be my thoughts.
That's great. Well, you got a heart emoji. Emily said, love the idea of asking permission. So really great strategies that you just shared. And Jessica says, this is also a helpful way to guide students. Jessica's making a connection to working and teaching with students too. So I think that's really cool that a lot of these strategies, Becky, are applicable not only in mentoring relationships, but mentoring with students too. So love that you got that out of it too, Jessica. That's great. And I think for our mentors who maybe don't have a formalized contract right now, if you're just starting or if you're halfway through or if you're ready to end your formal relationship, I think that goal is there for all of them. So however the two of you come to terms with that, I think in terms of contracting and reminding yourself, I feel like that anchor for sure is something you can always go back to as a goal. Awesome. I've got another one quickly. We've got from Nate in Tokyo. Becky would like to know and think about more deeply about questioning and cognitive coaching strategies to guide Marcelo and I.
I want to ask more questions about that question.
You certainly can. We can get it out of chat from Nate. I think Nate's here. Hi. He says hi in the chat. So I'll pull the chat up so you can see the chat. But yeah,
thank
Nate,
you so much for mentoring Marcelo. Let's see. I'm guessing what you're saying is how can I think more broadly about coaching and the questions that I might use for coaching? Would that be accurate?
Yay. Oh, cool. So they've already started a chat. Thanks, Nate. Yeah. Is there anything more you wanted to share about what kinds of questions you wanted to ask? Did that sound right? Yes. Okay, cool. Questioning techniques to help me get more into his head and understand his process.
Oh. Yeah. So, what I would say is my first thought is the GROW model. I think one of the hardest things when mentor, mentee, coach, coachee come together is getting really clear on the objective and the goal. And, I'm going to suppose here, just based on the information I have, that maybe there's some kind of unknown going there with Nathan. And you're not really sure about how to ask him and pull out more information from him. I tend, personally, my approach, and this is just my approach, I tend to be really pretty candid. So, and honest and try to do it in a way that's in service of them. So if you were my mentee, Nathan, I might say something like, Nathan, it's so great that we met the first time. I really enjoyed getting to know you. I am completely invested in your success in this program, and I want to make sure I'm doing everything I can to support you. One of the things that I thought might help me a bit is if we begin to uncover more what success would look like to you, what you're thinking about. Please know that I'm here to support you, not to, judge or evaluate. I'm really here to walk alongside you as we do something kind of cool and creative together that matters to you. So that's not being able to talk to you straight up, Nathan. Those are kind of my early thoughts. I have an instinct that if your mentee is being quiet and maybe it's hard for you to reach in and you were asking for questions for that. It could be a little bit about maybe not understanding that your role really is to be up under them. I like to think of it as kind of the wind beneath their wings-ish, and really just a supportive partner that's helping guide them versus a sort of teacher and evaluator.
Thanks, Becky. And yeah, it looks like Nate said, I feel like I know what he wants to do, but what success looks like can be the challenge, especially in a new project and where maybe
I mean, for that one, I usually go into dream state too. I'll say, let's imagine it's the end of 2017. We've had this great mentoring relationship. We have this project that's ready to launch. What would be the most amazing outcome? So I like to back into it from, kind of a dream state. And if it's too dreamy, then we can tailor it back to the possibility. But what would success look like is at the end of our coaching engagement, how would we know that this was really effective for you, or mentoring engagement? How would we be able to measure that this was really helpful?
I love it. Dream state, hashtag dream state. So good. All right, Becky, let me give you one more, and then I know you've got a meeting at the top of the hour. So let's get our last couple questions. Let me share my screen. Okay, we have Jessica, and this is a big question. I know you showed the pipeline with motivation in it, but any best practices on that piece that you shared, having the gurus also having difficulty with motivation or setbacks in life, or we have a lot of innovators often who will change jobs, and so there's a lot of stuff going on, or the project can't move forward because of external forces, in their work. So a myriad of things. But any advice for Jessica on best practices for motivation?
Yeah, and that's a very thoughtful question, and I really appreciate it, because the truth is, in coaching and mentoring engagements and sessions, we have this overarching goal and plan, and then life happens. And the guiding principle that I use, and I would say the coaches in general and mentors here at Google use, which is meet the client where they are. And sometimes it's easy to be pulled into, well, let's stay with the goal, and what about our checklist, and we're not moving forward, and we had a whole meeting and we didn't get there. And what I would say is acknowledge that you may, in the conversation, that you may be taking some time away to acknowledge and talk through some of the setbacks. The other thing that comes to mind here is we do a lot of championing. Championing seems to be one of the things that I find. I'm really surprised. People will often come in with their challenge, and what I try to do very authentically is look for something very special and unique about the way that they're approaching their situation, and find a way to champion them. Because I think championing them, supporting and validating what's going well is sort of the yin to the yang of setbacks and feeling demotivated and thwarted. And so sometimes it's through lifting them up a bit that will give them this sort of the energy. It's sort of a bit of a battery recharge to face the setback or face the challenge of motivation. And also what I would say is, once again, I would say, I notice our motivation's waning. Do you notice our motivation's waning? So I tend to be, is that just me? Can we talk about that for a minute? How are you feeling about this project? I want to make sure I'm supporting you. I noticed our momentum's a little slower. Those are some of the approaches.
That's great. And Jessica just said here in chat, thank you. It sounds a lot like empathy, and even just hearing you say those strategies just to immediately make it a little less daunting to talk about it. So you definitely putting folks at ease talking about tough stuff for sure. And I like the championing for sure. Cool. All right, let's see. We have also got, if you have time, we had Moss. The best piece of feedback, Becky, that you've ever been given, and why, and how did it change your approach?
Oh heavens, I got it for you, Moss. Okay, we have time for this. Yeah. So this is my third career here at Google. My first career, big career, was at Xerox, where I fixed Xerox equipment. So I was a girl in my mid-20s carrying a tool bag. And I had a territory to fix equipment in Los Gatos, California. And it was, if you've ever been to Los Gatos, California, it's just this idyllic town. And it's beautiful. And I had a territory of the most amazing customers. I spent a year cleaning their equipment, getting their equipment up. Their customer satisfaction was off the charts. I was happy. They were happy. They would give me tea and cookies when I came to visit. And I went on vacation. And when I was on vacation, my new manager changed my territory to downtown San Jose, which was the armpit of having a territory, just to not be too fancy with my words. It was it was full of not so nice people. You couldn't find parking. The equipment didn't work. Customers were unhappy. And I called my dad and I said, Dad, this is the worst. My manager changed my territory when I was on vacation and he didn't ask me. He didn't ask my opinion. He didn't care. I have that territory running. He just changed it. And this is what my father said to me. So this is to your question, Moss. He said, what'd they hire you to do? I said, fix Xerox machines. He said, what'd they say they'd pay you to do that? I said, $350 a week. He said, you fixing Xerox machines? Yeah. They paying you $350 a week? Yeah. Sounds like the contract's intact. And so I would call that the best piece of feedback or advice I've ever given. Because what it does to me, even in this day, today, in this time, I'm constantly thinking about why am I being paid to do what I do and what is the contract? Because frankly, sometimes I have to do things I don't enjoy. And like being in spreadsheets and non-people things. And so what I tried it, so that I hope that got to your question, but the best piece of feedback I've ever received, and I tell that story when people are struggling with not wanting to do all of their job and only wanting to do some of their job, I call it kind of the blue button. What is the blue button you were hired to do? And what are you being paid for? And that seems to be advice that lands over and over again to support people, and I use it probably weekly.
I love the voice. Sounds like the contract's intact. I love it. Well, Becky, we want to get you off to your next meeting. You've been incredibly inspirational. The chat here is just exploding with gratitude. Wanted to thank you for coming today, Becky. Inspiring everybody and giving great strategies and connections to the Guru Plus program. I did want to share, I'll just share the final screen of everybody's gratitude really quick because everyone's super stoked and making great connections. But here, since you can't see them, you can at least see all of their emojis and loves it and thanks yous and of Jessica. So we can't thank you enough. We will archive this chat so that any outstanding questions we'll post out to the mentor groups, and please feel free to keep digging into some of those questions that are in there. Strategies on motivation, strategies on thinking of questioning and thinking of all of these great things that Becky has shared. Again, the archive will be available on YouTube, so please feel free to watch again. And we will see all of you mentors again. We'll try to have another quarterly meetup with some inspiration for you. But in the meantime, have a great time working and connecting with your innovators and helping them with their projects. We appreciate all of your time.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you for all you do for teachers, for students, and those you teach and support in the world.
Thanks, Becky. Have a great Tuesday.
Okay, take care.
Bye.